Hello. Welcome to another video here on my channel. So for this video, we'll try to continue where we left off with our previous video. And we try to continue mocking our application. The goal is to remove the dependencies on auth on Firebase when we are launching our application with a mock configuration. So in our environment file, so we have a flag that can tell if you are launching an application in a mock environment or not. And the goal here is to be able to launch application easily when we are in a mock environment, mock situation, without necessarily having to connect to our Firebase and Firestore. So yeah, we started last time, and in the route of our application, here we have made some few changes where we can try to bypass the login. I'm also trying to use the mock resource when we are in the mock environment. So there is one part that we have to finish is in our login component. Here we can see that we are still depending on the auth of Firebase. So even if we may launch application in a mock with a mock environment, but still here we are relying directly upon the auth here in this component. So what we can try to do here is to add another layer of our abstraction and to move this in our resource, and that way we won't have to depend directly upon the auth if you are mocking our application. So let's try to do that. So we'll try to use the store here of application. So in our actions, we can add a new action that we can call login. So generally, when I'm creating action, generally I try to create a login success and the login failure all at the same time. So we can dispatch the action that we just created. Now if we move to the effect of our application, we try to listen on this login action. So here I've created the login effect, which does the same thing as what we have in our login component. Just need to have the auth here. So we import here. So here we have our effect, and our effect is doing the same thing as what we have in our component. So we listen to the login action, and on this action, we try to return the pop-up after the user has completed his sign-in. Then we continue with the rest of the flow. Well, I just have to also to listen on this login success, and then dispatch the navigating to the as we did here. Just have to on success we need to complete the navigation of the application. However, if we leave our application this way, again the same problem happens here, is that our effect that it relies directly upon the auth. So which means that if we do launch our application within an environment where we don't have this auth that is provided, then our effect will fail. So that's why we want this logic. We have to move it all together to the resource, and then we add a level of abstraction for application. So let's move this one to our coin resource, and then here we can have a method that we can call login, and our method will be responsible for signing the user in. And then we just call here this, because in our abstract class we need to provide the login method. So now let's add also the login success effect, which will be responsible in completing the navigation upon when a user will enter his credential to log in. So is this everything is this? Just have to make sure that here we don't dispatch anything. We are just doing the navigation. Now we have everything. So now we have our login which is implemented in a way that uh, if you are in a mocking scenario, everything is completely mocked. We don't depend upon the auth in the application. The only place where we have the auth is within the resource. That way we can mock this resource when we don't need it, or when we want just to make some prototyping only with the templating of application, HTML, the CSS, when we don't want to have this round trip going to the server. So it's always handy to have such a configuration which allows to really be able to quickly prototype when we are developing an application. So now if I go to my login component here, now I can just remove all of this one, because I know that I've already implemented it in my resource. Now let's go back and have a look to our resource here. So we have our coin resource. So our get coin, it makes a query to Pastor to get the user data, and then after we map it to user entity to have the data that we want to process within our application. And we call this pattern the PARQ pattern. PA stands for the parser, the R for resources, and the Q for queries. But in this application, we don't have a way to tell that the data coming from the server has exactly the structure that we are expecting. If you go to user entity, we expect to have a data coming from the backend from Firestore that have this form. It has to have coin, which can be empty, but it has to have a coin. And if coins is defined, coin needs to have this format, an ID, and a creation date, which is of type a timestamp. But in the application right now, we are not really validating that our data has exactly this format. So what happens if our data coming from our backend or Firestore doesn't have exactly this format? Then our application may fail. So the way we try to make our application robust is also to try to validate the data coming from the server, from the backend, from Firestore. And one library that helps to validate data structure is AJV. There are a few. There are AJV, there are Zog, but I've come to really appreciate AJV because I think it's one of the fastest in terms of library to validate data. And so there is two ways to use AJV. So AJV can just be used. You import the AJV library, and then you validate your data. You give into it the schema, or you can just use the AJV as a standalone function. But this one, it requires to build the functions in the build time before you can call those functions directly within the application. So the second way, the standalone is faster than using the normal AGV, to which there needs to be given the schema of the interface. So we try to do the same thing, and we use the AGV, but with the standalone one, and we try to validate the data coming from Firestore. And we also try to leverage here in our application generators of NX. So let's try to go to NX here, and we try to create our own generator. And then the goal of these generators that we'll create, they will generate for us the schemas. They will generate for us the standalone functions using AGV. So let's add the plugin of NX in our application. So the library is being installed. So here on NX, we have on this page how to create generators. And personally, I've come to really appreciate generators of NX because it gives some super capabilities within a monorepo. The possibility to be able to generate codes easily. And also, I think that it also helps to have code that is a little bit standardized across the whole application, across the whole monorepo, as you don't have to go and write the same thing over and over again with the possibility to make mistakes. But when you know how to write generators, and it's super easy and super handy to be able to generate parts of the application. I mean, initially I was wondering what is the difference between generators and executors with NX. And well, for me, I would say if you have uh, to generate uh, parts of your application, when you need to generate files, it's better to rely upon generators, because even the generators, they have a mode where you don't even have to generate the files. You just can see the dry run of what is going to happen. So this is also really interesting because it doesn't pollute your application, doesn't pollute your monorepo. You just see, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and you preview this one before the command is being run. So if you have to generate files, well, try to see if you can do it using a generator. And then, well, if you can't, well, but we can always rely upon executors, which are just normal functions like tasks that you want to automate within your application. Okay, it did fail. I don't know for what reason, but I think maybe I'll just have to install it manually. Yeah, I think you try to install the plugin NX of NX 19 instead of NX 17. Okay, let's try to install it manually. NX plugin. Okay. So now if I go and then try to follow the rest of the documentation, so here I've created a folder plugins, and then in this folder I will have all my generators. So it did create the plugin folder for me. Now if I continue, so I will call my first generator that I will create, I will call it models schema. And the goal of this first generator is to be able to generate schemas from the interfaces that I do have. Um, and then here in the project, I call it plugins here, plugins. So I have generator, and inside my generators, I have model schema. So I made a few changes to what is being generated. So here I have my model schemas generator. So I have the input, what I'm giving to it, where this function can find the models that I want to use for to generate my schemas, and then after I use create generator function from uh, TS JSON schema generator, and then after I generate the schema for the models of my application. So something we can also try to do is if I go to the models that I do have, uh, if I go to use um, here, I also try to move what is the entity, to separate what is the entity from what is the models coming from Firestore. So I moved uh, the entities to a separate folder that I call entities, because I don't want to check what is in the entity, because I know what is in the entity is what is being created for my application. So the only thing I want to check is what is coming directly from Firestore. So that's why I separate the two. But we can even go one step further by creating an NX library. And for a name, I will call it Firestore Models. So what I want to do here is that I want to move the models of my application directly to this library. So here I have user, the user model. If I now go to the library that is being generated, so here I don't need these. So I don't need these one. I can delete them, and inside my lib I can just paste directly this model. Let's do it. Uh, so inside libs I can create models. No, let's leave it like that. So libs, and then here instead of libs I will have an index. So now I can safely delete this model here. I can delete it because I now know that all the models of my application they will be in a separate library uh, that is called faster models, and then it's make it reusable. So if later on, if I create other applications within my model repo, they can all use the models coming from faster because it's in a separate uh, application, in a separate library. Now, if I can make now, if few changes to the to my generator again, because here I'm calling I'm telling my application where he can find the models of faster. So since I've now moved everything to the lib, so I have to go here again, and I will copy this path, and I will paste it here. And I can also do the same thing, and so maybe you can also do something similar and create another library and call it faster schemas. So let's do that as well, and then so here we are passing to a function where he can find the models of faster, and then here we are telling the function where the schemas can be generated, and then after create generator we do the rest. So I have my my schemas generator, and then also I've created uh, following the same using the same command line that I found on the docs of NX. So I've created them. So I have model schemas. Then I also have model validators, and the model validators. So it uses AJV, and then it generates AJV functions as standalone. So I it goes to where he can find the schemas, and then after where he can also output these functions that will be generated. So uh, nothing fancy here, just some functions here that we just generate uh, the standalone functions from AGV, and they and then after I have a third generator, which is validators library. And the goal of this validators library here is to call the two generators, so I don't have to call all three of them. But so the goal of this validators library is to generate, okay, first a library, uh, and then this library, we it first takes the schemas, it generates the schemas, then it generates the validators of AGV, and the third one is to create another functions where if the validation of AGV fails, it just throws an error. So that's what this test generator is doing. I also try to create a custom error library so that this error will be used when we generate the functions that serves to validate data coming from Firestore. And if those if the validation fails, this custom error will be thrown. So now let's try to see if everything works. So my library validators library is generated, and so here is uh, an example of function that is generated. So now what we'll do is that we'll call these functions directly within the application, directly within our resource. So to user entity, here you can call. So yeah, you have to make some few changes here since uh, doesn't seem to find it directly. Entities. Okay, yeah, user entity. Now user is now part of uh, these models. So now when we are creating to user entity, we also want to validate first the data coming from the data coming from our first store. And instead of doing it here, let's do it rather in our resource instead. So here we try to validate our user, and if our user validation fails, so this will throw the error the custom error that was shown. So this way we have an application that is robust because we'll have early validation. It's always better to fail fast instead of having an application where the user have some errors, and then after we try to know where this error is coming from. So here within this application, we fail fast. We have this error coming from the first, then with this valid user, we try to see if our user is valid, and this validation is done by AJV functions. And if the validation fails, so we have this user is invalid, that is thrown to the user. So this is part of the adapter pattern, pattern that we will try to uh, that I've tried to use as a PARQ pattern. It's the adapter pattern, but so here I have created different files that I call the PARQ pattern, because I've created a parser, I've created a resource and a queries, and then all of these they do this adapter pattern in a nice way. So now we have a very clean application, but also a very robust one. And I'll be really interested to read in the comment what you think about this way of writing a very robust application that not only try to query data from the database, but also try to validate this application before displaying anything to the user. And if something fails in the process, we want to fail fast and tell the user that you have an error coming from the database, and try to do something with it, instead of having an application where things fail, but then after we have to debug and see why is the things failing. And again, what is interesting with this pattern is that if there is something failing in the application, you know that the only source of this problem, it can only be in the parser. If you have it could only be in the parser. If you have a problem within this application, you know that okay, you have validated everything within your front-end application. The only place where the problem could be is in this parser. Maybe you haven't resolving the data coming from the backend in a nice way, and then okay, you come to your parser, and then quickly you can identify the problem. And then again, since we also have added this extra validation of the data coming from the backend, we know that okay, if you don't have any error, if the custom error is not thrown, so only this parser could be a source of issue, and then you can quickly debug your application. So I hope you enjoy this video that really show how we can have a very robust application, how we can leverage the adapter pattern in using this PARQ pattern that I've been trying to talk about since a couple of my videos now. And so let me know in the comment what do you think about this way of structuring your application. And then also we try to leverage the NX generators as well. And I also put the GitHub link so that you can see this code that I've written. So hope you enjoy this video, and let me know in the comment, and until the next one, bye.